Tatiana Monet, and this is TalktoTat, real people, real talk, real life. Okay, so this is my first video for 2024. I'm very excited to get back into making videos. I stopped for a while. Life was lifing. Everybody can relate to that. But I do want to give a big shout out to my support system for just encouraging me and filling me up with positivity. And I want to, besides myself, I want to give a shout out to God, because without him, I wouldn't be here today and just continuing to persevere. So with that being said, I wanted to talk about something this week that was really pressing, and I have had a lot of one-on-one conversations with people in my circle, and it seems like everybody has been going through quite a bit of loss. And I wanted to, more importantly, talk about my loss that happened in 2022. I lost my dad, and navigating through year one, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. Words can't describe it. Stutter necessary. So getting through grief, especially the loss of a parent, especially when your parent is not an old age, where they're kind of snatched from you in a sense. There's no time. Granted, there's no time to really prepare for it at all. But when it's like, I was just talking to this dude one day, and then the next day he's deceased, it's like, oh, there's no hospital, there was no, like, scandal, no crime. It was like, no, like, dude, body gave out, you know what I mean? Based on pre-existing health conditions and stuff like that, and just life choices. And that is key. I do want to let you guys know, I'm gonna pause on the main topic of what I want to talk about today, to just stress to you the importance of taking care of yourself, self-care. Go to the doctor, go to a therapist, whatever that looks like for you. Just show up for that, because your family needs you, you need you, and you never know who in this world might need you just through your story and your experiences alone. You know what I mean? And so you should want to stick around for that. You got value. Everybody has value. No matter what is going on in your life or what things are showing up, you got something to say. You matter. We're here for a mere second, and the footprints that we leave behind definitely help change the trajectory of everything else to come. So make your mark. You know what I mean? I know my dad definitely did, even though he was only here for 50 years and 11 months, blah blah blah. He definitely made his mark. To this day, I'll run into someone every now and then, and I'll mention him because he was a really popular DJ in Chicago, and they're like, oh yeah, I know DJ Smooth, blah blah. So anyway, aside from that, take care of yourself. Please put yourself first. That is one of my goals for 2024. But yeah, take that, do what you wish with it. But getting back to the topic that I really wanted to discuss, that's been on my heart, getting through year one, it goes beyond the funeral arrangements, the phone calls that are lasting just for the next few days or weeks or maybe even months after the funeral. Is so much more than that. Those first holidays, the birthdays, the applicable, more pertinent holidays to that person, like Father's Day, or even the fact that, like, my dad was born on Halloween, so it wasn't just about his birthday, it was Halloween too. So it's like double whammy, and then you losing somebody right before the holidays. So Christmas and Thanksgiving, when you come from a family that is close-knit and very active, it does make things just, it's different. And there's not always words for it, like I said. But me sharing with you how I got through year one, since it happened in 2022, I didn't plan anything. Now, granted, when I first found out, I was down here by myself. I mean, granted, I have some relatives here. I'm in Atlanta. And my main family, they're all in Chicago. So just having to get some news like that when you're not right there, it makes you feel powerless in a sense. Y'all gonna hear my dog, like, whining and stuff in the background. Just get used to her. Here, come here, Layla. Might as well introduce you right now while we have the time. But this is my Layla. She's going to look different over time because she's going to have haircuts and all of those wonderful things. So she vies for my attention 24/7. You know what I mean? This is my ride or die right here. So just get used to her, hearing her, whether I get to edit her out or not. So that's Lay baby right there. All right. But, and if you see her in the camera, just, hey, there it is. Because she ain't going nowhere. So, yeah, just dealing with the not having an immediate person to, like, right there, right when you find out that news, just to collapse with, to break with, or whatever. I had to have that moment alone. Granted, you know, like, I got family here, like I said, you know what I mean? Like, I got my brother here, I got my aunties, got my cousins, you know, and I got really good friends that are like family here. But to be in my apartment by myself, finding out that news, that's a lot. That's a lot. I got through it, obviously, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Some people are different. Some people want to grieve in silence and in solace. Good for you. That's what's up. That's your narrative. I really didn't have a say in the matter. That's just how it showed up at 11:42 at night. So, with that being said, having to navigate that, also because I'm out of state, and I have closer communication with certain relatives, I also had to share that news. That's a lot. And sometimes when you're going through this grief process in year one, it's not just about you. And I'm not just reducing things down in year one. Let me just say that. But, you know, so having to, I don't want to say put my feelings aside, but hone in on them and kind of hold them together in a way where I have to do something else instead of letting that be the forefront task or emotion. That was a thing too, like delivering news to my grandmother that your son, your firstborn child, is deceased. You know what I mean? That was a thing. I had to do that. And who wants to do that? Who wants to do that? You know, or telling, you know, my other siblings, like, your dad passed away, or, you know, just my cousins, like, whatever, just delivering that type of news all in the same day, but still trying to get to that nearest relative in person so that we could just not be alone. That's one thing for me. I will say I can't be alone 100% of the time while I grieve. Grieving is a solo journey. However, your village should show up for you in times like that. And I definitely did have my village. You know what I mean? I am very grateful for the people that are in my life that choose to be in my life, especially when the chips are down, when you lose somebody, or when something going on in your life. Your circle, whoever shows up in your circle, that's where it's at. Because sometimes people choose to not show up, you know, or they show up and then they disappear on you in the middle of the storm. And that's for a whole nother episode, because that happened to me too. All right. But yeah, just year one, that was really day one of year one. But just even, you know, getting to the funeral, or even just the funeral arrangements, like being asked what to put in obituaries, and it's a lot to have to do at 30 years old. Even though it happens, people lose their parents at different ages and stuff, but when you don't see it coming like that, it's like boom. Like, some people get to deal with the transitional process because their parent might be in hospice or whatever, you know, or they just see it coming, they feel it coming. But when it's like day and night, like I'm on the phone with you at this time, a few hours later, you've transitioned with the Lord. It's like, oh, that's how it is for some people. Got it. Okay. All right. Now, I gotta do something with that. I know the type of person that my dad was. He would not want for anybody to be stagnant and put their life on pause and just shut down and stay down. Like, that wasn't him. I couldn't do that. There was a period that I did, though. It was a while. It was like each day felt like hell. Pure hell. Like, beyond what I could even communicate. You know, I am a very communicative person. If anybody knows me personally, they know I got the gift of gab. I can talk. But there's a lot of stuff that I don't say. And I keep it up here. I'm an Aquarius. We're very mental creatures. You know what I mean? We're emotional, but we're also up here in our heads a lot. Always running, analyzing, processing stuff. And so there was a lot more that I went through than what I expressed. And that's just because that's how I showed up in that time. One thing I learned from my therapist, shout out to her, however you need to show up for yourself to get through something and it's not creating you any harm, do it. I grieved in my own way. I don't base my grief off of anybody else, their process, what happened with them, nothing like that. What I see on TV, because no one dealt with what I dealt with, whom I have dealt with, none of that. Like, there's only one me in this world, period. There's only one type of life that is my life. That's it. You know, so I have to deal with it the best way I can at that time. And so for several days and weeks, I wasn't eating right, wasn't sleeping right. And thankfully I had left one job. And when I left that job to go to another job, there was a waiting period. My dad passed in that waiting period. So, because a lot of times when you lose a parent or a relative, period, your job give you 3 bereavement days. The world don't stop. BS. But it don't. And I was fortunate enough to have, like, 2.5 months or something like that, where my bills were still paid and everything because of how I set stuff up. But I was able to just really be that dark hermit that I needed to be. I mean, when I tell you, it was to the point where one of my sisters, I'm an Eastern Star, so one of my sisters called me randomly and was like, where are you at? I said, I'm at home. She said, okay, I'm 20 minutes out. Mind you, she stayed like 45 minutes away, so she was already on her way before she called me. That just shows you the type of person she is, and I love her for that. She was like, yeah, when I get over there, you're going to eat, you're going to bathe, and you're going to get out the bed. And that's exactly what happened. Not in that order, but it happened. And to have people show up for you like that, calling you, you know, sending you cards. Like, I got cards from across the country, literally. From my network alone of being an Eastern Star, or just from relatives, like, or even people who just knew my dad. Like, they knew of me, but they knew him, and it's like them just showing up and checking up on me and sending out prayers to me, my family. You know, that stuff goes a really long way, and you see a lot of that in year one. What you also see a lot of in year one is the adjustment to absence. At least for me, I had to deal with, whenever I had this really dope idea, I can't call them. Whenever I wanted to share some great news, I can't call them. Whenever I am livid, like I want to do some things, I want to act with some physical, you know, I can't call them. The person who always knew what to say, the person who could explain my DNA, I can't call them. Like, everybody has their person. You know, we all have our family. Like, when again, reiterating, my village, especially my mother. I will cry over that lady in a minute. I love my mama to death. Love my mom. You got certain people in your life that without them, it's like, yo, how would I make it without them? You know. So I'm glad that they're still here. Me losing my dad because of how we identify with one another, outside of the fact that we look alike, like, he's can't deny me if he tried. But I don't want to contradict. Also having that person be the person that knew exactly what to say every single time, whether I liked it or not. It was to the point where, side note, I'd be upset about something. Like, so upset I'm not even showing it. It's all in here. Just, you know. And he would call my phone and be like, what's wrong with you? You good? You okay? And I'd be like, hi. Like, you know, sometimes you don't want to tell your parents stuff because you either don't want them to be mad at you, or you don't want them to make you feel like what you saying ain't really that big of a deal because there's so much more going on in the world. Or you just don't want to burden them with your burden. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he didn't care. he the type, he don't like nobody being mad around him. He's not with it. So when he called me, he said, what's wrong? He was like, look, I'm going to ask you again. When your parent says something and they have to say it more than once, or they about to, when you growing up black, or even just minorities, period, it's like, I'm going to do what I'm told. So I divulged. I can't even remember what I was mad about. But when I told him what I was mad about, he was like, okay. But guess what? And I'm like, what? Like, imagine he in Chicago. I'm down here in Atlanta. It's like, what do you mean? Guess what? And so he's like, you still my daughter. Like, it's stuff like that. It's like, that's a fact. That's a blessing. And it got me to laugh for a second. It got me to reduce whatever was going on to how insignificant it was, because what matters more is what actually matters. Like, yeah, like I got my family, I got my health, I'm present. You know what I mean? It's like, without him even having to say all of that, just by him saying, you my daughter and I'm your father. You know what I mean? And then, okay, let me tell you how I feel like you could get through this type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you do this, I'm telling you, blah, 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 blah. So don't cry. You know, like, and I'm glad you're crying. I'm glad I'm on the phone with you. You know what I mean? And something he said that will never leave my brain. Because when I was like, how did you know I was upset? He said, I could feel it in my chest. I don't have kids. I have Layla. And there's even a little intuition with that. You know, when you just around a person 24/7, y'all get in tune with each other. You get in sync. You know, that's a real testament of a bond, right? My dad had that. Like, the fact that he would say, I felt it in my chest that something was wrong, so I called you. You know what I mean? Like, I hear it all the time because I'm a avid crime show person. So when I hear about how people lost their children or their significant other or whatever, their relative, and they're talking about how they felt this, you know, about that specific person, it's not something you feel for everybody to that degree. I mean, when there's danger, normally we sync up and we sense danger, you know what I mean? But when it's a designated person, that's one of a kind. You know what I mean? Kind of like how some women, they say when they lost their child, they felt it in their womb, you know. Or when your children are in pain, it's like you want to take it from them. You'll take that pain for them, type of thing. You feel that for your loved ones too. Or how you just want people to win. Like, it ain't even about you, and you so happy about your friend or your loved one having gains. You like, because you winning, I'm winning. You know, that connection. And we had that. And I don't always want to speak in past tense. Like, I do know that he is, thankfully, with our Lord and Savior. But I also still want to speak life into him. And that's another thing that showed up for me too in year one, is learning how, besides dealing with that absence, also still dealing with what's present outside of my wonderful family, knowing that there's things that are still existing because of him outside of, you know, our very existence, you know. Just being like, even when I go home, if I'm seeing something that my sister does, I'm like, gosh, she look like him. Like, I mean, I do too, but like, gosh, like, you know, just little stuff that's left around. Like, a person doesn't just leave. That's a blessing. They leave things behind, whether it's their scent or their clothes or their mannerisms, a moment in time that people can refer back to, or they left something physical there, you know, an item of theirs or something like that. Those relics, I appreciate those and I hone in on those. But what also shows up is that longing for them to not just be memories. That, for me, going home for that first time, being in the house, the areas that he would frequent more often in the house, because everybody got their little special place in their house. Even though it's their house, it's like there's one area they may prefer over another, or they gravitate to more. And just going into those areas where his stuff was, it's just like, man, that was hard. That was hard. I cried like a baby. I don't have no issue with crying, by the way. If anybody know me, T shed a tear. Okay? Tat, tears. Okay? I ain't never gonna knock that. I mean, that's a valid expression of emotion for me. And I don't become hyper dependent on it where all I'm doing is crying. It's like, no, you gotta have a little skin, you know. But just being home that first time, again, going back to those first, hard. Part of it felt unfair. Unfortunately, it's necessary, though. If you don't get those initial things, those moments, those milestones, unfortunately, out the way, can't move forward. No matter how much you want to bury it. And that's one thing that makes me very apprehensive about having the exposure to and getting in close connection with are people who do not deal with things emotionally. It's just, now it's one thing, like some people are trained that way because emotion can compromise whatever they got going on. But to me, that's almost anti-human nature in some instances. And I'm not, like, I don't want to be generalizing and just saying everybody need to be this way or that way. I'm not that person at all. I'm always that person. If you ask me something like, well, it depends. So, or I'm impartial. Like, my friends hear that, they're like, oh, Tat's impartial, okay. I'm always impartial because there's always one additional side to something besides what we may already know. That's just how I feel on that. But I said all that to say, with people who are not showing up in their emotions, they're not sitting in it, they're not processing it, they're not even letting the emotions get to the door, I'm gonna need you to be over there for a minute because I'm not at a place yet where I can fully process and be in tune with that, because I'm the complete opposite. It's not to say that there's no room for it in my life, because I do accept people's differences, but they have to align where I am right now to some extent. Like, as long as it's not producing anything that could be a detriment to me, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? So outside of all of that, just dealing with what still remains, that's a thing. Having to answer people's questions over and over, that's a thing. Having to, losing focus a little bit, there we go. Having to look at someone's stuff that can't be worn, that's a thing. And I know I'm using the word thing a lot. That's just the word that's showing up right now. I don't know why my little thing ain't focusing the way I needed to. Okay, great. Yay. Year one, it also produced something that I didn't anticipate, which was a certain level of strength. I didn't expect to find strength grieving the loss of my father. I expected to just be stuck in this place of being disheveled and just down, because a part of me died. That's what I feel like. A part of me died. I still got parts remaining, you know what I mean? But a part of me is in heaven, like, dearly beloved. So knowing that I have to still move forward, the world's still turning, that's hard. That's hard because everybody else didn't lose your daddy. You know, and I get it, because I can't sit in someone else's grief. I get it. You know, it's still like, and that's the thing. That's a feeling. Sometimes feelings are just words, or they're just body language, gestures. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. Year one, with the strength thing, it got me interested in wanting to figure out, okay, what is this journey that I'm on? It allowed me to, I don't want to say separate from the grief, but analyze it. And everyone is more commonly familiar with the 5 stages of grief. You got denial, you got anger, you got bargaining, you got acceptance, and you got what's that other one? You got denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. After some research, I found out there's actually 7. And I'm like, okay. The first one is shock. Me. That's all me. And with my stages of grief, I'm going in and out of them. I don't just go in order and that's it. I'll make it to 3, go back to 1, then go to 5 and go back to 2. And another one, the 7th one, it's not last, it's actually number 6, but it's testing. Testing happens right before acceptance, where you are trying out different solutions to navigate and make the adjustment to what you have been grieving. So acceptance, I'm not there yet. No, I'm not there yet. That's something that's beyond science for me. That's something that has a need for divine intervention. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. And I be asking for help navigating through that when I'm in my prayer room. That's another thing too, that in year 1, when I did all this analyzing, self-regulation, self-awareness, emotional regulation, I determined that there needs to be a place for me, even in my own home, to break. A safe space. And I created that safe space. I have a prayer room in my closet. Since my closet has a certain size to it, I got this really cute pink tufted chair from HomeGoods. That's my shop. Okay? It's gorgeous. And then I also got this cloud light. It's LED and it changes colors and stuff with the remote. And that came from HomeGoods as well. It was $9.99 for the light. And I believe the tufted chair it's a storage chair too, so I could put little knickknacks in there. Knickknacks. That was about $70 before my little discount, because I used to actually work part-time at HomeGoods many moons ago, so I still got my little discount card. And I go in there, I talk to God. It's unscripted. It's not only just about me talking to God, it's for me to listen, or at least position myself to listen just in case he has something to say in that moment. And that's not the only moment that I designate, but I make it a part of my daily routine starting in 2024. That's what I've been doing so far, and I do see improvements intrinsically. That's another thing that is a goal for me, and I'll talk about my goals and stuff like that in another video. But yes, just that analysis that shows up in year 1, especially after the first few months. And when you're navigating through those stages of grief, the shock, the denial, the anger, the bargaining, the testing, the acceptance, you find out a lot more about who you are, about the people in your life. There are certain situations I've handled differently because I'm not looking at those people in my life based on the titles that they hold, like your whatever familial tie to me. You know what I mean? Like whether you're a cousin, an uncle, whatever, you know what I mean? I base it off of who are you in that moment and how you've been showing up in my life. Sometimes that warrants me to give them grace, and other times it makes me be like, well, yeah, you may have treated me well based on your title, but how you showing up as a person right now, it's like boundaries. And that's another thing with that analysis part. With grieving, it allowed me to set some boundaries, and it's ironic that my dad foretold that. He had a lot of morbid conversations with us before he passed. He was always that type of guy talking about death, not in a creepy way, but I feel like he was preparing us just for whatever, period. Like even if it was for him to transition at 80, he was not uncomfortable talking about it by any means. And I remember some of the stuff he would say to me specifically is, he was like, man, whoever pissed you off, I feel bad for them when I pass, because it's going to be over with. Like, because my dad didn't raise no punk. My dad didn't raise no fool. And he always talked about thinking before you speaking, right? Like my dad had more of a right brain approach to things, where my mom, she has a left brain approach to things. My mom is like, think it through, make a plan. It was a conscious decision. You know what I mean? Take accountability. That's my mama. You know what I mean? So it was a blessing having a left brain guided parent and a right brain guided parent. So that way I'm not just navigating a situation with the same mundane method. I can adjust. You know, that fluidity and agility, I can better get through something, or even if it's unconventional, I can still navigate through it. You know, that's a blessing. And so one of the things, when my dad was talking about how he prayed for the world because if somebody get in my way with something, it's gonna be like, yeah, your mouth and you not my anger in you, man, something else. You know what I mean? He said, but I do want you to also do this. And this goes back to this duality thing, which will be explained in another video. yes, don't take no bull crap from nobody, but also love. Do things out of love. That's what he said. He said, do things out of love and be kind to people. And he said, he was shaking his finger at me. He said, be kind to people. And I'm like, I'll give it a try. I don't know if I'll be perfect at it or if that's going to be the first emotion, but I will consider it. He was like, no, I'm serious. I said, I'm serious too. I'm telling you what I'm capable of right now. The Tatiana sitting right here says maybe. Because one thing I don't like to do is agree to something that I can't, put out. That's not me. I'm telling you how I'm showing up, but I'm glad he did that. I'm glad he said those things, because it be times where I'm sitting in front of somebody acting a plumb fool and I want to call them out, and I'm like, okay, that's a hurt person. Because a lot of times when you are analyzing yourself and you working on yourself, you're better able to gauge who coming up to you. Like, you can't control other people. And so me knowing that and being okay with that, I had to accept that. I can't control how people show up to me. What I could control is how far they get. Like, as far as penetrating my emotions and stuff like that. I can control that. I can control whether I'm in the room or not sometimes. Or how I take it. My perception on stuff. And so me having that knowledge about myself better help me navigate, especially because when you lose a person that's like a pillar, one of the pillars in your life, you feel vulnerable, you feel a little exposed, and you feel like it's easier for you to get taken advantage of or caught up in something because one of your safety nets is not there. You know what I mean? That broad daylight IDGAF person, is one of them, is not there. So you got to move different. That's another thing after analyzing my situation, just looking at stuff and navigating through this whole year one process, is I got to move different. I can't be the same way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's evolving based on my current situation and just being susceptible to that change. And that's strength in itself, because I'm not letting it take over me, and I'm not letting it prevent me from getting to where I need to go. But also knowing that sometimes how that shows up is knowing when to sit back and take a break, knowing my limits. There's been quite a few times where I've had to question, am I taking a break or am I being lazy? And I had to talk to God about that. And sometimes you're not going to have an answer right up front. But other times it's like an answer is not even necessary. If I'm listening to myself and right now I need to sleep, I'm going to sleep. If I feel like I'm sleeping too much, I'm going to say some encouraging things to get my butt up so I could do what I need to do. Like making this video. I could have got up earlier and made the video. I didn't. My body was like, yeah, we're going to make it. But just a few more minutes. And just listening to my own cues and being more aware of my surroundings and the people within that. That's a gain. Yeah, I lost something big, but I gained a lot too. It doesn't outweigh what I lost by any means, but it's definitely a gain, and it was a necessary gain. A lot of times when we lose something and we go through that process of grief, we only look at that lost part. I know I did. I was only looking at how this messed me up. Because, yeah, it messed me up. Yeah, losing my dad messed me up. But that's not fair to the person that you lost. Like, what I do know is he was my dad. Had him in my life for however long God allowed him to be here. That's a blessing. And also knowing he left some things behind for me to use for a lifetime. You can't find that everywhere. It be shirts and stuff or articles of clothing we buy, we wear it one time and that's it. We don't even remember. Or it be moments that we've had and people will remind us of. We be like, oh, I did that. I believe you. I can't say that about my dad. And that's what's up. That's what's up. So for year one, navigating through it, surviving it, and being able to sit here and articulate it, I'm very proud of myself. Very. Because it's not the fact that I went to a dark place. And because I'm not even sitting here saying like, oh, everything was just smooth and it was a cakewalk. No. Like, mentally, terrible. Emotionally, a whole, like, freak show. You know, it's not like, man, I can go on and on about that. You know, even situationally, just making certain decisions or just being vulnerable. Being vulnerable where I have a hand in compromising my vulnerability. That. But mistakes happen because God gives us free will. And I've learned how to push through that, forgive myself, and love myself through that. Among the other things that people try to contribute as restraining forces in my life, and I'm glad those things are gone. Another video. But just knowing that I could go to a dark place and come out of it, I feel like I'm dope. I'm dope. Yeah, AF. Because some people don't recover from that. They go to a dark place and they stay there. They go to a dark place and they allow that darkness to manifest. And they continue doing things that take away from their life and what they can do with it. I need to wet my whistle. I made me some tea. This is some Passionfruit tea that I got from HomeGoods. And it's from Tea Now. But the reason why, because when you get it, it's going to be a lighter color, like a golden yellow type of color. The reason why mine, even though this glass that I got from Burlington is like a iridescent pink color. But the reason why I got it to be this color is because I put a little bit of grenadine in it. So my passion fruit tea with honey, lemon, and a touch of grenadine got this color right here. Had to do that. When you talk a lot, now I see why on TV shows, like broadcast shows, they keep like water, some type of drink right there, because when you talk, you get cotton mouth. But anyway, so yeah, going to that dark place, knowing that it's okay to go to a dark place. That goes back to the whole duality thing. Without light, without dark, there is no light, vice versa. So just going to that dark place and knowing I could come out of it. I don't have to just vacation there. I know it's a quick trip. I can go to that dark place, have my moment whenever I need to have my moment, and then pop back out. There's security in that. So in a way, I lost the security of my father being physically present, and now I have the security of knowing I can go into this dark space and use that to pull a positive out of it. Yeah. Out of a situation that got so much loss behind it, there's some wins in there too. There's some wins. And I think it's like, that's life, you know? And it's what we do with it. So, I appreciate y'all for listening to me on my first video for 2024. Talking about how I navigated through year one of grieving the loss of my father. Rest in peace to my father. And I want to give a shout out to anyone who decided to really listen to this video. I hope that you could relate to it. I hope that you were able to gain something from it, and that I was able to help in some type of way. I am a life coach, so me being able to do something that another person can use to make themselves better, that's the reward for me. You know, I do challenge everybody to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm posting this on YouTube And I'm also posting this as a podcast. So if you see my information out there on TalktoTat, real people, real talk, real life, connect with me. You can also follow me on Instagram at the Tatiana Monet. That's my art and wellness page, because that's my whole thing, right? My whole aesthetic, my whole motif is to blend art and wellness together to promote a more positive and healthy living. It's about feeling the way you live and living the way you feel. That's my thing. So until next time, I do plan on putting these videos out here every week. Hopefully, you know what I mean? And if anybody has any questions for me, I'm an open book. Please reach out to me. Ask me anything. I can address it on here, or I can address it with you one-on-one. You know, I'll put all my communication links and stuff down there. And just know that it's okay to not be okay. I want to like leave my videos with something, you know, to carry you on to your next moment. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to do certain things in solidarity, and it's also okay to do things with your village and lean on your village. You know, just have some type of guidance or moral compass, whether that's the Lord or whatever you pour into, whatever is your guiding light. Lean on that. That's what they're for. Your resources are supposed to be used, you know. So I leave you with that, and I appreciate you, and I hope to see you again next time.